literally is the last thing I'm doing, and then I'm done. Wait a second. Something looks different. You've changed? Yeah, you definitely had a glow up.
You can feel yourself coming back to yourself. You know what I mean? You can feel when you're on the other side of the glow up, when you're on the tail end of the glow up and you're like, wait, am I integrating right now? Like, have I stepped into a new era? Yes, you have. Yes, you have. So, like, what's a glow up, right? How do you know that you're in the midst of a glow up? Or how do you know you've had a healing glow up? It's not like a makeover show. Like, it's not like Queer Eye. You know what I mean? Where you come in one way and then at the end of it, a 30-minute episode, your entire life is different and your entire house. You see what I'm saying? I feel like, again, I've said this many times in this series, that we're not looking for big sweeping changes. We're looking for micro actions that lead to consistent change over time. Because what we want to do is we want this healing era to stick. Okay. We don't want to go back. We're not trying to do that. I remember one time after ending a really abusive relationship, and I was trying to keep my spirits up because I had literally thought me and this man was going to get married, blah, blah, blah. I had told everybody about it. I really abandoned myself to be in that relationship in a lot of ways. I really thought that it was all going to pay off in the end, and it literally all blew up in my face, and I was so depressed and sad. But in the midst of it, it was like I was so sad that I had lost this relationship, that this vision of us that I thought was going to happen didn't happen. And I was like taking myself on all these dates. Like, I'm just going to act like what I wish a guy would be taking me out. I'm going to just role play. This was the beginning of my whole series daydreaming thing, which I talked about in my book. I have other videos on that. But it's basically your being Delulu is the Salulu. You are imagining a life that you want before it gets there. So I was imagining this guy loved to take me to do cultural things. I would go see shows. I would go out to eat. And it was just in one moment where the switch happened. The transition happened from me taking myself out to eat as a placeholder until a man can do it, to I'm enjoying going out to eat with myself. I was just having a good time. And I just looked up and I was like, I love this. This is great. I love it. Ha, ha, ah, I love this. This is nice. And I realized, like, that's when the glow up happened. We interpret glow ups as aesthetics, especially now because we are obsessed with aesthetics and optics right now. We really want to look the part. We want to be able to see the glow up. And you indeed will. Absolutely. You want to see the skin clearing. You want to see the waist snatch. You want to see the ring or whatever it is you want to see. You want to see the funds in the account. And don't worry, you're going to be where the money reside. But the glow up doesn't start there. It's important for you to recognize when you are actually in the midst of glow up. When you have actually transitioned, you've done it. You have left that one healing era. You are firmly, girl, what? You're firmly starting the next one. You have evolved. But sometimes if you don't know what to look for, you can miss it. Or you can make the mistake of thinking that a healing glow up is all about aesthetics and thinking that you'll be able to look for it physically and that other people will be able to see it on you. Sometimes they might, but that's not, we don't want to go off of those indicators. We want this to be driven by your own internal guidance, right? We don't want you to have to be reliant on other people telling you you've had a glow up before knowing if you had a glow up. Hi, I'm Sheila Marie. I'm the host of the podcast, Unruly with Sheila Marie, and this is my Healing Era series. In each video, I'll be guiding you through your healing era, breaking down the psychological and emotional barriers that keep us stuck. I'll show you why you do the things that you're doing, what's actually happening beneath the surface, and practical tools that you can do right now to get to that next level in your healing journey. Okay, let's get into it. In this video, I'm breaking down what a real glow up era looks like, not the aesthetic one, not a trendy one. I'll talk about integration in another video, but I'll just put a pin in that we never, ever, 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 ever leave the versions of ourselves behind. She always comes with us in a certain way. I was in couples therapy. This was a long time ago, and my therapist gave us an exercise to do. And she said, we have to list all the versions of ourselves that we've ever been. And I was like, okay. So it took us maybe 2 weeks. We had homework. So, we would do a little bit at a time. And finally, when I brought my list to therapy session, I had 11 or 12 different versions of me. Right. And I actually wrote about this in my book too. In the course of several sessions, I created a list of all the characters I've ever played from in utero to present day. My list looks something like this. Womb Sheila. This is me, this is the first iteration of me, right? Well, I'm not the first because, what I'm saying? We like eternal, never die. I'm saying spirit can't ever be dead, but you know what I'm saying? This is the first version of Sheila that was around in utero. I'm in my womb. Why am I starting here? Because epigenetics. Okay, this is when you start to develop your cells are there. They're going to go off to create you later in life. So why not? Newborn Sheila. Parents still together, but it's chaotic and violent. Post-divorce Sheila. Adjusting to living in a house without my dad. Child Sheila. Adjusting to having a new stepdad. Big sister Sheila. My sister Tiffany was born, and at the same time, my older sister moved away. So basically, every time you're in a transition, you develop a new version. It's almost like a new avatar or a new character. You think about it like that. What's happening is because I believe that we are resourceful. I believe that spirit is economical. I do not believe that any experiences that we have or any iterations of ourself are made to be thrown away to the wayside. I believe that they're all used for our highest good if we choose. No matter what she went through, she's still a part of my story. And when you're leaving one healing era like you might be right now, and you're moving on to the next, you're looking back like, damn, that was rough. That was crazy. That was a lot. You might feel the impulse to completely leave her behind. You might feel the impulse to be like, well, that's not me now. That was me then. This is me now. And like shun her, right? That implies that there's still a level of shame and guilt there that might need to be worked through. And instead, I'm arguing for a more resourceful option, which is to integrate her into the version of you moving forward. Por ejemplo, okay, you wanting to give me an example? I give you an example. So, entonces, mami, me, from when I'm a baby, I'm very sensitive, okay? I'm feeling a lot of things. I'm crying all the time. I have a thing, it's called, fission. I think it's like that. Fission. I don't know if that's the thing, where you just cry and stuff, like movies, plays. If you see something beautiful, if I see beautiful lights, like it just makes me tear up. I cry. I'm a sensitive girl. I'm a sensitive girl. What can I say? I'm a sensitive girl. All right. So remember I told you I was in that abusive relationship, right? And when I was in that abusive relationship, he used to tell me all the time, you too sensitive. You too sensitive. I've had a lot of people tell me that over my life. Oh, you too sensitive. It's not that deep. You too sensitive. La, la, la. You too much. You got too much emotions. First of all, fuck you. If you say that to people, if you've ever said that to a woman, fuck you, too sensitive. If you don't have no emotional intelligence, then just say that. If you don't give your space to process your own emotions, and so you mad that I'm processing mine, and just say that. I had internalized that as something wrong with me because I'd been hearing that since I was a child, right? It was echoing something that I had already known to be true, which was I was too sensitive, air quotes. If I would have said, all right, so I'm moving to the next healing phase, like right after I got out of that relationship, okay, I'm no longer sensitive. And I actually did this. I actually tried in my young healing self. I was like, yeah, all right. I'm not going to be too sensitive anymore. Like, girl, like as if I could really try to be anything other than I am. Like, hello, I'm right there. I can't lie. I'm one of those people who I cannot hide any parts. I just am on display whether I like it or not. So I'm not a good liar. Okay. Yeah, I just can't. I can't front. I can't fake the fun. So I'm like, okay, bet I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be strong. I'm not going to have any emotions. And I told myself that I was going to cut myself off from all emotions when it comes to romance. And like a man will never get me like that again. Girl, that did not last. Girl, they crashed and burned so fast. It was terrible. What actually happened after that was I met a really, really nice guy. And because I was in that phase of cutting off my emotions, I didn't let myself see it. And I didn't pay him. I paid him dust. Sorry. Shout out to him. Sorry to that man. But the message here is if you have the impulse to really just fast track it, leave that version behind, completely come a new version, you're actually missing the juice. You know what I'm saying? You're missing the lesson because the lesson has to live with you. And the way that the lesson lives with you is she lives with you in the version of you who you are about to leave behind. Spiritually, we call this integration. Integration is such an important step in the healing process. After, like, I've done mushroom ceremonies before, like, if you do a mushroom ceremony, the most important part of it is the integration after the fact, not what's happening during ceremony. After you do the ceremony, if you have a proper facilitator who's been trained, they will walk with you to say, okay, what did you learn? What came up? What messages did you receive? And what are you going to do to integrate them into your everyday life? Because the idea is not for us just to have these great epiphanies and great lessons and to just throw them to the side. We want to live with the lessons so that we don't have to repeat them, right? Or if we come up to a similar lesson again, we have better tools to move through it. If you don't do integration, you will be like a previous video where we talked about the panic and pivot, where we talked about feeling like you're always rebuilding and you always starting over and over and you're doing the same thing over again. Likely, you're not integrating lessons. The thing with integration, though, is it's a very precious, quiet process. There's no like big title card, there's no fireworks. Nobody's going to send you a letter in the mail like, hey, congratulations, you've integrated. Hey, congratulations, welcome to your new healing era. It happens almost slowly then suddenly. It's one day you are taking yourself out on a date and it no longer feels like you're alone. One day you're taking yourself out on a date and you realize that this is not a placeholder. You're not a placeholder for a man to come keep company with you. You realize I like spending time with me. And it's like it was slowly, then suddenly. It was just a quiet moment for a second. I was having a glass of wine and I had this really good pizza. Like, I love New York. New York has the best food and this pizza was so good. And it was just like, wow, I went to dance class. I went and took myself to get something to eat. I'm having a glass of wine. I'm about to go home and watch Netflix and go to sleep. And this is a great day. Wow. And that was the foundation for me becoming the woman that I am today. Why? Because if I had agreed that I'm too sensitive, I'm too emotional, and my sensitivity is a defect, I wouldn't be making this video right now. I would have never went on to write a book. I would not be the woman that helps women I would not be the host that helps women feel safe and protected at my retreats. The reason that I am able to host retreats where I make women feel safe, feel loved, and feel welcomed is because my sensitivity allows me to tap into where they are. I understand. Even if I haven't been through exactly what you've been through, I can relate. I have an emotional resonance. I have I have a library of emotional experiences that I can pull from that help me connect with you, be with you, or just validate you. You see what I'm saying? Integration happens internally first, and then if it's properly done, it shows up in your third dimensional reality. Right? For me, for example, my integration was me learning to love myself and be with myself. And then not too long after that, I met my husband. I met the man who would later go on to be my husband, right? And we've shared partnership for almost 10 years now. You feel it before you see it. So it might not look like it yet, but you know it's in process. You are in such a precious time in your healing transition, and it's important to enter that era with precision and purpose so that you don't have to go back at the beginning of the cycle and learn that whole lesson again. I'm going to talk about the healing glow up from a backwards perspective, if that makes sense. Stick with me, you'll see. The first thing is I want you to reverse engineer your capacity. All right. So most women try to start their glow up with effort, with more effort. I'll get more routines, more tasks, more discipline. And it doesn't last because the real transformation doesn't begin with productivity. It begins with capacity. When your system is emotionally and mentally overloaded, no amount of planning or discipline is going to stick. It's all going to fall by the wayside eventually. Your brain literally does not have the room. A true glow up begins when you lower your emotional load, when you simplify your responsibilities, and when you stop trying to build a life from a place of exhaustion. That's how we regulate our nervous system. And our nervous system is really that girl. She's exactly who she thinks she is, and she's calling the shots no matter what. All right? She's the queen. Capacity is about making space, right? You're trying to make a lot of room for the new emotional landscape that you're trying to get into, right? It's not about adding tasks. That's not the key here. That's the opposite of how we rebuild many times. I mean, yeah, this can feel counterintuitive, and there can be this impulse to outline all your tasks and then have all these tasks that you want to do and stretch your capacity to fit all the tasks that you have to do. And that leads us back to what we were talking about in an earlier stage, which is that panic to pivot, because you're starting something from a shaky foundation. You are not honoring the version of you that exists right now. You haven't actually taken inventory if you have the capacity to complete all those tasks. Do you have the capacity to hold this vision that you even want? Like me, when I was talking about in an earlier episode with my business, I had to be real with myself. I claimed that I wanted this business in a certain way, but I didn't have the capacity to hold it. Instead of starting from productivity and then making the productivity fit your capacity, I want you to start with your capacity and match your capacity to your productivity. I want you to get very clear about what you do and do not have the capacity to do without judging it, without trying to shift it, without trying to change it. I just want you to get very honest about it. And this is why it looks like you're failing, air quotes, sometimes. And this is why it can feel like we fail sometimes when we try to create new routines or new habits, not because we don't care, not because we're lazy, and not because we lack discipline. Because for me, that was one of the big ones that I accepted for a long time, was like, oh, I just don't have the discipline. No, it's that I didn't have the capacity. I was overextending myself and then getting mad at myself when I couldn't keep up to the tasks that I could never do anyway. The glow up truly starts the moment that you create enough breathing room for yourself to function, for you to actually be successful. So when you're thinking about, all right, I'm in this new healing era, y'all, like I'm in this new version of Sheila or whoever, and this is what I want to do. Ooh, I want to do X, Y, Z. No. I want you to think about, what do you truly have the space and room and energy for? And then use that as a guidance for creating the tasks and the actionable steps that you're going to do. Second, again, my second backwards approach is identity before goals. You cannot glow up if you're building from an identity that no longer exists. Most people try to change their life by changing their goals. And they take this outside in approach that, like, oh, I want to lose this amount of weight, or I want to make this amount of money, and I want to da-da-da. And you make all these goals on the outside, and then you make your identity catch up with them goals. But if you're trying to change your habits without changing your self-concept, you're always going to be stuck in a loop of rebuilding. The identity, your identity is the blueprint for your behavior, not your goals. So instead of becoming hyper-focused on what goals, again, a lot of times too, we have to be honest that goals, like goal setting, can be performative. Not saying it is. I think you should have goals, but a lot of times productivity, goal setting can be performative. It's all things these are all markers that you want to display to the world to indicate where you are, right? For example, if we want to show to the world, if we want to perform to the world that we are successful, we might do things like, I want to buy a certain house. I want to buy a certain car. I want to wear certain clothes. Again, no judgment. I'm talking to myself too. But those are outside-in approaches. They're never going to get you the fulfillment you're really looking for. And it's always going to be moving the goalpost. There's always going to be someone with a bigger house, someone with a more expensive car, someone who's more perceived successful than you. So if you're using these outside markers as indication that you have moved to the next phase in your healing journey, you're always going to end up back where you started. A real glow up requires hyper focusing on your identity. Who are you now? You just slipped into a new person, low key, a new version of yourself. So who are you now? First of all, we got to get to know her before we start demanding shit of her. You ain't even get to know her first, and you just start telling her to do stuff. Okay, she just got here. All right, boom. I want you to get on a treadmill. I want you to work this many hours. I want you to create this. Like, hold on, babes. Golly, can I get a hello? You know what I'm saying? How does she move? What are her new beliefs, if any? Have her beliefs been updated? What does she tolerate? What does she not tolerate? What is she done entertaining? What are her hard line boundaries? When you anchor first in your identity, when you get very close, when you make good friends with the version of yourself that you are now, you can anchor that identity, and then the habits won't feel forced. They'll feel natural. Like, imagine if I had got out of that abusive relationship and just set a goal that I'm going to get into a new relationship. Like, oh no, I'm going to get the man of my dreams, without asking, who am I now? What did I learn from this situation that I'm not taking forward? What strengths did I build that I am taking forward? What lessons did I learn that are integral for me to keep close to me so I don't repeat them, right? So this is how you don't leave her behind. You don't leave any parts of yourself behind. You need her performing in concert. The idea is you have all the versions of yourself performing in concert, and you are the director. And you are the director calling the shots and adjusting the light cues. All of these past versions of yourself are standing by. A sensitive, okay, when I need sensitivity, I'm going to bring her to make this YouTube video. I need the sensitive version of Sheila to come here and lead this retreat, right? But I'm not going to call her when I'm in a business meeting. Not really. That maybe is not the time. I'm not going to bring her to the stage when I'm around certain people that don't deserve to see that sensitive side of me. So the real goal here is agency, when you can get to choose when and where you're performing certain versions of yourself. That's how you know you have really integrated. Instead of saying, I need to work out every day, say, I am a woman who honors her body, and then make decisions from there. Instead of saying, I want to make X K a month, I want to feel safe financially, and practice feeling as safe as you can financially. What would a financially safe woman do? What decisions would she make? And spend some time there before directly hopping into goal setting. I'm not saying that you can't set goals. I think goal setting is important and worthy. I'm just saying I don't think we should start there. Start with identity. And my last backward approach, I want you to think about support before strength. Ooh, this is a big one, guys. This is a big one, because we live in an individualistic society that over prioritizes individual merit. We have a lot of, the bootstrapping myth, and we really applaud people who do things on their own. We love it. Our society encourages it at every turn. And that's a part of the reason why a lot of us are suffering, because we're losing community. But real glow ups cannot happen in a vacuum. Glow ups will fail if you try to do it alone. Absolutely will. Real transformation requires support, especially with women. Women who are carrying family responsibilities, you're dealing with emotional labor, recovering from burnout, navigating major life transitions. You do not glow up by being strong. You glow up by being supported. Now, I will say that I do think this first starts with the relationship with yourself. It first starts with you feeling supported in yourself, which looks like listening to yourself, honoring yourself, keeping those parts with you. But it also takes community. You need other people. So whether that's seeking out therapy and whatever that looks like, leaning on your friends, leaning on your community, just know that the changes that you are making will not be able to be sustained if you go alone. Okay? You can do a lot, but you can't do everything alone. And the last reframe here is consistency before intensity. Okay? I struggle with this a lot. I sometimes try to go straight for the intensity. If I want to get back into a workout, I'm going to just go ahead and run on the treadmill and do some sprints and XYZ. And then what happens? Of course, I get tired. It starts to feel overwhelming, and then I quit. You don't rebuild your life with giant leaps. If there's anything that you take from me from these series, is that I want you to understand the magic of the mundane. I want you to understand the magic in the micro. Things that are happening, very small decisions, consistent over time, have massive changes in your life. So resist the urge to transform your entire routine, to jump from 0 to 100, to force new era energy over one weekend. Like, okay, I love the enthusiasm. I'm liking the enthusiasm, but I want you to be able to have sustained change. I don't want this to be a stop and start thing. I want you to stop breaking small promises with yourself. Instead of making these big sweeping promises, it's January 1st, I'm gonna eat healthy, I'm gonna eat plant-based, I'm gonna cut out this, I'm gonna cut out that. Make small changes that you can stick to develop trust with yourself. That's how you learn to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, discernment and your intuition is stronger. And when you hear your intuition, you're more likely you need trust to hear your intuition. You need trust to have discernment. And you need discernment to hold on to this new version of yourself that you're creating. You cannot keep her and I will talk about this in another video, but you can't keep her if you don't have trust with yourself. Trust is developed through small promises kept over time. 3 minutes of journaling a day versus 12 pages a day, right? And I think this is in Atomic Habits, I think, that my husband was telling me about, but he was like, just show up for 10 minutes. Like, you don't have to commit to a whole workout. Just go there and say, I'm going to do 10 minutes on these days. And what ends up happening is you end up doing more than 10 minutes, but the 10 minutes feels doable, it feels actionable, and you actually keep that agreement with yourself, which is building that trust that I talked about. All right, here's a quick tip that I'll leave you with to gauge if you actually have the capacity for a thing, right? If you actually, how do you feel about a thing? Again, I'm going to introduce a somatic exercise because, again, I think we over intellectualize everything, and there's only so much healing that can happen in the head. You can't just drag your lifeless body along. So let's say you're about to make a new agreement with yourself. Like, I want this in my new healing era, I'm more conscious of what I'm eating. Okay, I want to go plant-based. I want you to put your hand on your heart and get quiet and ask yourself, do I have the capacity to eat plant-based? The first thing you hear. The first thing you hear. That is key. Don't go, no, I didn't, cut that out. This is an exercise in trust because the new version of you needs her to trust you. So, or she needs to be trusted by you. You guys need to trust each other. So you might go, do I have the capacity to go plant-based? Sometimes. What do you mean sometimes? 3 days a week. All right, let's try plant-based 3 days a week, right? So I just want you, when you're setting your goals, if you're planning your intentions, you're mapping out things, I want you to stop for a second and ask yourself what you have the capacity for. And I want you, so important, don't analyze. This is your body speaking, not your mind. Another way to do it, if you want to keep it even more simple, is ask yourself a yes or no question. Do I have the capacity for plant-based eating? If your body feels tight, that's a no. If you feel a mild sense of tightness, that's a maybe. That's for you to investigate further. If you feel happy, if you feel joy, if you feel expansion, that's a yes. Okay? This one I love. I do all the time. Like, can I take on that project? Ooh, if I immediately feel, ooh, that's a no. Don't question it. You don't need to know why. Intuition is knowing something strongly, even if you don't know why. You are building trust with yourself. If you feel tightness that makes you go, it's pretty high, that's a no. If you feel a vague sense of tightness, that just means you need to investigate that a little further. It might need a little more clarification, right? Your glow up does not need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be aesthetic. It doesn't need to be a cute lo-fi reel or a TikTok. It doesn't have to be that. It can. We love that. It doesn't have to be, though. It doesn't need to be performative. The real glow up happens quietly. It happens when you start choosing yourself consistently, one decision at a time. It's choosing yourself when no one is watching, when no one is looking. It's listening to yourself when you respond. And this will help you rebuild from a place of truth and not a place from pressure. You don't have to rush this season. You are becoming. It is happening. You just have to trust yourself and work on small decisions one step at a time. If you're stepping into your glow up era, this is actually day 6. of day 7, I have a 7-day journal called Unruly and Rising. You can get it in the caption. It's a free journal if you just want to go a little bit deeper. And then if you really want to dig deeper and you want some more guidance, I do have a mini course that's a companion to this series, and you can also get that in the caption. And then, I don't know, if you just want to be nosy or follow along, again, as I say in every video, I will never teach you to do something that I don't do. I will never teach you a lesson that I haven't been through myself. And so I'm always going through random things and talking on my story, on my subscriber on Instagram. So if you're interested in that, I have an Instagram subscriber stories. It's so hard to say. Instagram subscriber stories. I got to find a better name for that. If you have one, let me know in the comments. That's $5 a month. Who knows what you'll see? I might be cooking. It might be behind the scenes. I might be thirst trapping. Who knows? I don't even know. Okay, we find out together. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Give me some sweet.